Hi, my name is Chandra Doremus, and I work for Kentucky State University's Cooperative Extension Program. I work in Hardin County, Kentucky, and today I'm going to be talking to you about shopping savvy at the grocery store and what's in a nutrition label and a unit price label. So let's get started. One of the things that is interesting about shopping at your grocery store is navigating the grocery store aisles. Finding the best food items at the grocery store for the cheapest price and best quality can be a challenge. So let's look at some ways to make the process easier and save you some time in the store. There's 3 money-saving tips that you can go off of. Number 1 is going to be to compare unit prices. You want to keep a price book with you, and what that contains is literally just a price of items that you normally buy. Staple items such as bread, milk, eggs, things of that nature. The second part of that is understanding how to read unit labels. A lot of times we go into stores and we see price tags on stuff, and sometimes it's little details on the tag that we may not notice or on the label. Next, you want to use your coupons wisely. Download digital coupon apps. Make sure that sales prices and clearance prices actually scan at the register. Number 3, avoid spending traps. Purchase store brand products instead of name brand canned goods to save money. Look at the bottom and top shelves for cheaper priced items. So buying in bulk. When you compare prices at the grocery store, very often, but not always, the larger version of the product is the better value when you compare the prices. But sometimes buying a larger bottle or package is not the right choice for you. Here are some questions to ask yourself before buying in bulk. Before buying in bulk, be certain that you need the product, have enough money to buy the larger product, have a place to store it, have the storage containers you need. Are you able to use it before it spoils? Very important question. Find the best buys at the grocery store by using a unit price tag. The unit price tag tells you the following: cost per pound, quart, other unit of weight or volume of a food package. Some other questions to consider when you're buying in bulk is this a product you and your family will use? Do you have enough money to buy the larger product? Do you have a place to store it? Do you have the storage containers you need? If the product is perishable, can you use it before it all spills or before it goes bad? Overall, when you're at the grocery store, the biggest 3 things that you're going to be concerned about is price, quantity, and quality. When you talk about your price, what you're looking at is your unit price and your total price of goods in terms of how much are you getting for the price of the actual food item. Your quantity, what you're looking at there is your serving sizes and how many servings or how many portion sizes are you going to get out of that one item. Quality, is it healthy? Is it nutritious? Does it have a long shelf life? Is the taste going to be good, or is it going to be kind of, you don't know? And if you have some doubts about whether it's going to taste good or not, buying in bulk may not be the best thing for you. So we're going to take an in-depth look at unit price labels and understand how to read unit price labels in order for you to learn how to save more money. So the definition of a unit price is the cost of a product per unit of the weight, volume, and measure of the quantity. So when you're looking at unit price, it's usually posted on a shelf below the food item. The shelf tag shows the total price item and price per unit for the food item. I have an example listed here, and there you see 2 examples of low-fat yogurt. On the top, you see a yogurt that's 32 ounces listed for $1.62 at 5 cents per ounce. Then on the bottom, you see a 6-ounce container of yogurt for 72 cents. And the unit price is 12 cents per ounce. So what happens here is, if you're going to be a person that actually consumes a lot of yogurt, what's going to be more cost effective for you is to get the yogurt for $1.62, because your unit price is only at 5 cents per ounce. Whereas if you're paying 12 cents per ounce, then you're only getting a smaller product. The difference between 6 ounces and the 32 ounces is like the equivalent of 6 ounces would be close to like 1 glass of water. 32 ounces would be more like 2 glasses of water. So if you think of it in that aspect, it is a lot more water or a lot more food contained in that item. So we're going to take a look at an actual unit price label and see and distinguish between how you can find develop the process of being able to identify unit price if you're at the store. So as you can see here, you have an actual label and it's canned pears. And listed there, we have a 16-ounce can of pears for 6 cents an ounce, and then we have one for 4 cents an ounce. You have your $1 can at 16 ounces for 6 cents per pound or per ounce. And then at the bottom, you have that $1.35 can for 28 ounces at 4 cents per ounce. So it depends on honestly what you're making and how many people you're feeding. The average single person probably is not going to consume that many pears. However, if you were to look at it from the perspective of someone who is cooking for a lot of individuals, then they may actually need this bigger can, because they're probably going to be preparing a dish that is like a dessert or something like that. So it's probably going to need the bigger can. So it kind of just depends on how much you're going to eat, how many people you're serving. And we'll look at in a minute an actual package or a can so you can see an actual serving size. So you'll start to see the difference between when we start talking about ounces and things of that nature. Unit pricing also uses unit pricing to compare prices at the grocery store. Avoid wasting food by planning meals and snacks before shopping. Buy foods that can be used in several different ways. So you want to look at something that you can use in more than one meal. Here's another example of some unit price labels. It's pretty much like the yogurt label that I showed you a little bit earlier. Here are some other examples. We have 2 unit price labels, which crackers are the better price. So you have product A. It's a store brand cracker at $2 for 16 ounces, and they're 13 cents an ounce. For product B, you have your name brand snack crackers at $2.39, 12 ounces, and then they're 20 cents per ounce. So in this instance, you can obviously tell that 16 ounces is bigger than 12 ounces. So you're actually getting more product if you buy the store brand at $2 versus the $2.39, and you're saving at least 39 cents. The way that you can actually compute or figure out your unit price, if the unit price is not posted, is you can divide the total price of the product by the total weight, volume, or other unit of a product. So suppose the 29-ounce can of peaches costs $1.45. The unit price is $1.45 divided by 29 ounces. You would get 5 cents per ounce, and that's how you would calculate your unit price. So earlier we talked about keeping a price book. Keeping a price book involves keeping track of the prices of the food you use often. Note the price at each store where you shop. When the food in your price book is advertised in a sale, you will know if it is a good deal or not. If it is, and you have extra food money, you can stock up. When you know regular prices, you can also quickly spot when a buy one, get one free sale is a good deal. Clip coupons wisely. Clip coupons for foods you use often. Most coupons are for name brands, and you may find less expensive store brands. Coupons for basic ingredients such as vegetables, fruits, and dairy products are not common. If you use a coupon, make sure the cashier scans it. Avoid spending traps. Only go down aisles that have food on your list. Basic foods are around the outside edges of the store. Look at the high and low shelves for bargains and healthier choices. More costly and less healthy foods are placed at eye level. Pay attention when checking out. Resist magazines, candy, and other impulse items. Watch for scanning errors, coupon deductions, and correct change. That's a really big one when you're checking out, when you're scanning items. Sometimes the sale price may not come up on the register. So a lot of times after you check out, you may want to actually look at your receipt to see, especially if you got something on clearance, if it came up for that amount. Because if you don't, it could be the difference of sometimes $5 to $10 maybe. So just make sure you check your receipt after your sales and everything and your coupons have came off. The other thing to remember is to actually use your store discount cards or your store discount number. If you have a store discount number or an account, always put that in on the register or your debit card machine or credit card machine before you complete your purchase, because what happens is you can download coupons to your store account and then you can save money on that way. So make sure that you download those so you don't miss out on your deductions. Some other ways to shop smart are by food group. And we're going to talk about some ways to understand how to shop smart using food groups like vegetables and fruits. So when you're purchasing fruits, buy fresh fruits in season when they cost less and taste better. Check the farmer's market for seasonal fruits. Choose frozen and canned fruits, canned and juice, or water and concentrated juice. Compare the prices of similar foods such as plums and peaches. One other thing to note about purchasing fruits is that you want to buy things in season, because when fruit is in season, it's a lot less expensive. Say, for instance, if you wanted to buy strawberries and they're out of season, that's going to cost you sometimes $2 to $3 more for the same amount of strawberries. So make sure that you're buying your fruit in season, and also make sure that you buy fruit that you know that you're going to be able to consume all of it. Bananas is a fruit that is very perishable very fast. So if you purchase bananas and you don't really eat them all that quick, then either you have to refrigerate them or keep the stem of it covered in plastic so that way it doesn't spoil on you as quick or perish. When purchasing vegetables, buy fresh vegetables in season. Whole vegetables and salad greens are usually less expensive and stay fresh longer than cut up vegetables and salad mixes. Buy frozen and canned vegetables with less salt. Think about planting a garden, and you can read about that at the Idaho Landscapes and Garden website. When it comes to your frozen and canned vegetables, when you buy them and they have less salt, that actually helps if you have any problems with diabetes or high blood pressure, that helps your numbers stay a lot better, and it will help you control like your blood pressure numbers. Or if you're a diabetic, it can help you control that as well. So a lot of times when you're buying your canned goods, you want to look at the nutrition label to look at your sodium content, also look at your sugar content or your total amount of sugars. So that way you see that you're not going over a certain amount. So we're going to talk a little bit more later about how to actually identify a nutrition label. The other thing you want to look at in the grocery store is breads and grains. Day-old bread costs less and is still a healthy choice. Buy regular rice and oatmeal rather than instant. Choose whole grain bread, cereal, pasta, crackers, and brown rice. Meat and protein. Meat is one of the most expensive foods. Watch for sales. Large packages of meat may be cheaper on sale. Divide the meat into meal-sized packages and freeze it for later. Use less expensive cuts of meat in soups, stews, stir fries, and slow cooker dishes. Less expensive cuts of beef include flank steak, skirt steak, brisket, chuck steak, or roast, ribs, and round or top round steak or roast. Dried beans are a good source of protein and fiber, inexpensive and won't spoil. Eggs and nuts are also a good source of protein and provide a lot of energy. Low-fat milk products. When you're looking at your low-fat milk products, you want to choose fat-free or low-fat milk, yogurt, and cheese. Larger packages of milk, cheese, and yogurt cost less per unit than smaller packages. Buy the largest size you can eat while it's fresh. Try ultra pasteurized milk, evaporated skim milk, and non-fat dry milk. They have long shelf lives. Freeze milk and shredded cheese to preserve them. Pour a small amount of milk out of the container before freezing to allow space for expansion. And that's a really good tip. If you do freeze your milk in a jug, one thing that could happen if you don't pour off a little bit of the liquid out before you put it in the freezer is as the liquid freezes, it expands. And so what could happen is the top a lot of times will pop off of the top. So one way to avoid that, of course, is just pouring a little bit off the top or not making sure you have it to the top rim of the bottle before you put it in the freezer. And the same thing goes for soda pop or anything else with the top that's liquid that you want to freeze. You always want to leave a little bit of room because the item is going to expand. So the next thing we're going to talk about is nutrition facts labels and understanding how to read those. Nutrition facts labels is required by the Food and Drug Administration on most packaged foods and beverages. The nutrition facts label provides the detailed information about a food's nutrient content, such as the amount of fat, sugar, sodium, and fiber that is contained in the food item. The nutrition facts label provides detailed information about all those things, and it also gives you a view, as you can see from the picture here, that you can tell how many calories is in an item. You can look at your serving size to see, for this particular item, there's 2/3 cups of food in this particular item. Total fat is 8 grams. And you also notice these little percentages over to the side. Those are your daily values. And those are telling you what percent of each nutrient you are actually receiving or you are actually consuming. And at the bottom, it has your vitamins that you're getting from eating this item listed on the label. One other important thing is the serving sizes that it talks about on the label. It says 8 serving sizes per container. That's important because if you're feeding a lot of people, you kind of want to know how much food is going to serve. So some labels actually have age sizes or age years of how much food should be contained for, or not contained, but consumed for each age group. So you want to look out for that information as well. And on the bottom, it talks about the daily value. It tells you how much a nutrient in a serving of food contributes to your daily diet, which is a 2,000 calorie diet a day, which that fluctuates between 2,000 and 2,500 based on the American Association of Dietetics. They recommend that adults get between 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day based on your athletic ability, how much you work out, your weight, height, your race, and all those factors put in together. If you're inactive, of course, you don't want to consume as much calories per day. However, if you are more active, you may want to consume a little bit more. So that kind of just depends on your activity level. Some other things that we look at on the nutrition facts label are they higher in dietary fiber, vitamin D, calcium, and potassium? Are they lower in saturated fat, sodium, and added sugar? On your serving size labels, there is a serving size label for both chili and macaroni and cheese for 1 cup, which we're going to see an example of the serving size label on the next slide. And we're going to compare a serving of how much you can eat. So you want to check your calories and fat. These numbers show how many calories are in 1 serving of food and how many of those calories are from fat. Here is an example of the nutrition label with the chili and macaroni and cheese that I mentioned in a previous slide. It says, which of the foods has fewer calories per cup? If you'll notice, per this example, there is a calorie that says 260 for the chili with beans, and then there is 400 calories for the macaroni and cheese. So obviously the chili has only 260 calories, so it has fewer calories. The other thing you want to look at on your nutrition label is your daily values. Daily values are the recommended intakes of specific nutrients for adults. The guide at the bottom of the nutrition facts label shows the daily values for a 2,000 calorie diet and a 2,500 calorie diet. These guides are generally dietary advice, which means that anytime that you want to reduce your calories lower than this, you definitely need to speak with your doctor or pediatrician when you're talking about kids to make sure that that's something that's health-wise is going to be right for you and your family. Your daily value indicates how much the daily value you get in a serving of food. For example, if the label lists 8% for calcium, like on the chili label we saw, it means 1 serving size provides 8% of calcium you need for each day. The other thing you want to look at is look for foods lower in fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, and sodium. Some nutrients may increase your risk of certain chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease. Aim to eat less than 100% of the daily value of these nutrients every day. Look for foods higher in dietary fiber, vitamins, and minerals. These nutrients can maintain or improve your overall health. Try to eat at least 100% of the daily value of these nutrients every day. Foods with 20% daily value or more are considered high in the nutrient or an excellent source of the nutrient. Foods with 10 to 19% daily value are considered a good source of that nutrient. Foods with less than 5% are considered to be low in that particular nutrient value. We have our nutrition label quiz here again. And the first question asks, which food has less sodium per serving? And if you'll notice here, the chili has a total of 1,140 milligrams of sodium at 49%, which is way too salty. And the macaroni and cheese has 580 milligrams of sodium at 24%. So obviously, the chili is the one that has more sodium, so the macaroni and cheese would be the one with less. One of the questions asks, which food has more iron per serving? The chili lists a serving size of iron for 20%, and then the macaroni and cheese only has 10%. So in that example, the iron the iron percentage would be higher in the chili. The last question asks, is a serving of chili an excellent source of dietary fiber? And let's look at the dietary fiber here. And there's 10 grams of fiber at 40% versus the macaroni and cheese here lists fiber at 1 gram. So that's only 4% of what you would need. So obviously the chili has an excellent source of dietary fiber. So when you're looking at your ingredients list, ingredients are listed in order by weight from the most to the least amount in the product. For example, the first 3 ingredients in the chili are water, beef, and beans. The ingredients in the macaroni and cheese mix are an enriched macaroni product with wheat flour, niacin, sulfurous, sulfate iron, thiamine, vitamin B1, vitamin B2, folic acid, and cheese sauce, with sub-ingredients listed as well. There is also an allergy list that is usually listed on the bottom of every nutrition label. So that's one thing I would like to note, that usually they list the common allergens on a nutrition label. For macaroni and cheese, at the bottom of that nutrition label, they listed wheat and milk. And chili contains soy and meat. And we're going to take a look at a nutrition label here on our little illustrative board. And as you can see here, this nutrition label actually does not show any little allergies on the list at the bottom. The reason why I point this out is because for people who have allergies, typically if your food is cooked in a or is manufactured in a factory where they have milk and soy products or wheat products, then they have to list that on the nutrition label. The Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, regulates how all of those things are labeled. So that's why we have our nutrition label standards that have been established by the Food and Drug Administration and also by USDA, which is the United States Department of Agriculture, when it comes to your meat products. And if you look at the nutrition label, there's a new label out. So it actually emphasizes bigger sizes when it comes to your calories. Because if you look at this label here, the first original label, the calorie size is quite small and you can barely see it. However, if you look on the right side, the calories is fairly big. I'm actually able to read it without glasses from a fair distance. So you can see that the calories is 230, whereas on this first label here, you don't see it as clearly. The other thing you'll notice is your serving size is bigger. You see that it's 2/3 cups. It's 8 servings per container. All of that information is a lot bigger. And the reason why they're doing that is they would like for you to note each of these little line items here, like for your sodium, cholesterol, your total carbohydrates, sugars, fibers, and proteins. One thing with your labels, all of these nutrients here provide you with energy. Vitamins and minerals usually are just for your other needs, as far as giving you energy to do several things. However, protein is very, very important in terms of your energy levels. The vitamins that you eat within your foods will help your body to absorb the proteins and other things that are listed here. One thing you want to watch out for on your nutrition label is looking at your actual sodium and looking at your carbohydrates, because for people who are diabetic, carbohydrates, if they are high, can be extremely dangerous if you're a type 1 or a type 2 diabetic. So you want to watch out for those levels. Also, within your nutrition label. The other thing you want to watch out for is extremely high sodium. Anything honestly over 300 to 450 is considered to be, I'd say, relatively normal for the average food, especially if it's a soup. That's going to be actually kind of low for a soup and probably would be considered a lower sodium. Actually, something lower than that, probably more like 100 or just 90. It is highly recommended if you do have high blood pressure to eat soups with no sodium or things with very, very low sodium. And the reason being is that soups in particular have very high contents of sodium. And so do things like ramen noodles, French fries, things of that nature. And also canned vegetables is another item that has a very high sodium. So those are some things you want to think about as you're looking at your nutrition label. Sugars is a very other content area that you want to look at on your nutrition label. Sugars can range from anywhere, like this label notates that sugars are at 12 grams, which is not horrible, but it is at 14% and at 20% with your added sugars. So that's pretty much 20% of what you would need for your daily percentage on this food item. So you want to watch that number as well and try to eat a limited amount of sugars when you're able to do so. So that pretty much wraps up the nutrition portion and looking at labels of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do a brown bag challenge in just a minute here, and we're going to talk about how much produce you can buy for $10 in one actual grocery bag. So we're going to go to that in just a moment. So we're going to be talking about the brown bag challenge. And so the whole objective of this is to see how much we can get into this brown bag here with the product that we have. With this challenge, what happens is you have a certain amount of product in your vegetables and your fruit that you can get into this brown bag for only $10. So I know that sounds like almost impossible, but I'm about to show you how it actually works. So how this formula works is we take 11 cups of vegetables and 7 cups of fruits. We add those together and it comes up to 18 cups of food for $10. That $10 worth of food goes into this brown bag and it goes home with an individual, family, individual person, or whatever the case may be. In our example for today that we're going to do for this demonstration, we actually only have canned products that we are using. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the details that you need to look for when you're in the grocery store and you're actually purchasing a can of food. So going back to the formula, we have 11 cups of portions of vegetables that we can get. So I'm going to just count out 11 cups here. And for your information, 1 can of vegetables is just equals into a half a cup. So it would take 2 cans of vegetables actually to make 1 cup. So with that being said, that would mean that pretty much you're going to have 11. So let's just count them out here. So just to make 1 cup, there's 1 cup, there is 2, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cups, 8, 9, 10. Those are different sizes. And actually, I only have 10 cups for our demo today. So the 7 cups that we basically would need would come in the process of having like 7 cups of fruit. So we only have like a natural version of some oranges here, or not your natural version, but your fresh version of oranges. And that's going to be totaled up to 7. So obviously we don't have any nutrition facts on hand about each cup of oranges. So what we're going to do is just average out. I'd say this is roughly about 2 to 3 cups of oranges. So pretty much all of this produce here can fit into this one bag for $10. Now, one thing I do want to note about your canned goods is that your pricing is going to be different on the name brand versus the store brand. So what I mean by that is, if you notice here with these canned goods, the name is Margaret Holmes. And just so that you know, we don't promote any particular brand of canned goods. So this is literally just for visual purposes that we are using the Margaret Holmes and some of the other name brands that you see displayed here with us on today. So with the Margaret Holmes cans of soup, typically if you look at your nutrition label, you'll notice that your sodium is at 390, the calories is at 40. But one bigger thing to note is that this can of vegetables is going to cost you $1 at least, and with tax about $1.10, $1.07 here in Kentucky, because tax is only about 6 or 7 cents. Depending on the county, you may have to pay a little bit more than that. It just depends. And the other thing to note is if you shop at an IGA store, sometimes they do make you pay additional tax on some of your food if it doesn't total up to a certain amount. Let's see here. So those are your store brand. I mean, not your store brand, but your name brand canned goods costing you at about $1. Over here, I'm going to take you over to some store brand products, right? So we got some store brand carrots and corn here. So basically your average corn. Now, the store brand vegetables typically run you about 50 to 65 cents on average. So that costs you a lot less money, I can definitely say, which is a good thing. Your fruit, your fresh fruit, as far as like if you're going to be getting it in season, it's going to be cheaper. This bag of fruit, this is obviously not the entire bag. For oranges, it runs you about $3.50 to $4.50, depending on what kind of orange you actually purchase. So that's one big thing to note about the canned goods that we have here. The other thing you want to look at is your sodium content, your sugar content, and your carbs, and your let's see, your vitamins. How many vitamins is in every can that you're actually purchasing? I keep picking up this one because it's right next to me. But anyway, this one has 390 milligrams of sodium in it, which for soups and vegetables. Actually, soups typically run a little bit higher on some of the sodium. This one is, I'd say some people would consider it to be high. It just kind of depends. If your taste level is not used to doing very low sodium or no salt, I will caution you that it does have a very distinct taste that is somewhat bland, just to be honest with you. So if you are going to purchase the no salt, just know that the taste will be a little different for you for your canned vegetables. The other thing to note is in our formula, it talks about using fresh, canned, and frozen vegetables and fruit. The taste on your frozen vegetables and fruit is going to be a little bit fresher, and usually the price isn't that much different. So when it comes to taste and sodium and things of that nature, the one thing you can check for is try to purchase cans with little to no salt if you have high blood pressure especially. And for someone who is diabetic, watch out for the number of carbs that you consume. Another thing to look out for is the amount of protein that we have within our actual cans. Now, this 1 can of carrots here has 1 gram of protein in it. So that would provide you with approximately 9 kilocalories of energy, which is decent, not too much, just kind of like a little spurt of energy. Now, let's go back here to this canned beans here. Let's see. It has 7 grams of protein, which is going to give you a lot more protein than this can of carrots. I point that out only because some people who may be watching this video today may be vegan. So if you are a vegan and you only eat vegetables, wonderful for you. One thing I will mention is that it's a little bit harder for you to get your energy levels in, just because of the simple fact that most of the proteins that the American diet is based in come from meats and eggs. And it also can come from your beans, just like I just talked about. So if you're a person that doesn't eat any meat at all, you may have to consume more vegetables in order to get your protein. And the reason why I talk about protein is because that's how you get a lot of energy. So if you're kind of lethargic and tired sometimes, that's one reason for that. Another reason is potassium levels and iron. So if you're a person who can only eat certain things, have a very restricted diet, look for foods with potassium, iron, calcium, vitamin D. And research shows that your vitamin D makes it easier for your body to absorb iron as well. The other thing to look for is on your cereals is fortified cereals and cereals that have that are gluten-free if you have kids with a lot of allergies or have some specifics when it comes to their food. Now, that's basically most of the things that you want to pay attention to on your nutrition labels, on your cans. When we look back at the formula, it talks about having 11 cups of vegetables and 7 cups of fruit. Unfortunately, I do not have 7 cups of fruit. I have a half a cup, or a little over a half a cup of pineapples here, as you can see. And so that's kind of what we have on site today. And we have our fresh oranges as far as part of our portion for that 7 cups that you see here. On average together, that's only about three, maybe 4 cups right there. So, I mean, I wouldn't say 4, probably right at 2.5, 3. So, so then you would still need about 4 cups of fruit if you're going to do the equation specifically like it suggests. The other thing that I would like to note is that this little equation that you see here was developed by the United States Department of Agriculture and the FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration. So it's suggesting that we have 11 cups of fresh vegetables, or not fresh vegetables, but the canned vegetables. Each can totals up to just half a cup. It takes 2 to make 2 cups of vegetables. So in order for you to make 11, that's going to take at least 5.5. So 1, 2, there you go, 5 cups. And then here, it's 1, 2, no, that's not 5 cups. I apologize for that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 5 cups and a half. So that is how many cups that is in vegetables. And then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 cups here. So 4, 5, we have about 9 cups roughly of vegetables. So obviously what I'm showing you now is you actually can have more than what you see here in terms of your actual cups of vegetables. So this to me looks like a pretty good amount of veggies. But in order for you to make that quota of 11 cups, you would actually need a little bit more. So let's look at how many cups again here. There's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you need 2 more cups, which would be the equivalent of 4 more cans. So if you take just that, all of that, I guess everything on the table would be 11, and you need 7 cups of fruit. And so that would pretty much give you your full 11 with everything you see here, and then your 7 cups of fruit. And what you would do, add your items to your bag, and what you could do is serve several families with this, with the vegetables, the canned vegetables, and the 1 can of fruit, and the fresh fruit that you see here that we have in our example for today. And hopefully this will help you all with planning meals for your family, and also saving money and helping you all to be a little bit healthier. So I'm not going to put everything in there. It has a nice little handle here. So there we go with that. One other thing I want to mention, I mentioned before about the Food and Drug Administration and USDA. There's a recommendation that comes from the American Dietetic Society that actually says that for the average American on a 2,000 or 2,500 calorie diet, it suggests that we consume a little over half of our plate of vegetables. There's like about a little over a fourth of fruits, a little bit more grains, protein, and a little cup of dairy. So it suggests that you make half of your plate fruits and vegetables, vary your protein choices, consume grains, healthy wheat grains, make at least half of your plate grains, whole grains, switch to skim milk versus 1% milk, stay active and reduce the amounts of sugars, sodium, and carbohydrates that you consume. And that is your way to a healthy diet and nutritious. So depending on if you have any needs that are specific to a specific diet, you may want to talk with your doctor or pediatrician about specific things that you may want to eat. Especially if you're talking about reducing your calories below 2,000 calories or anything like that, or going on any type of diets where you are doing some type of thing where you're not eating usual like you would every day. You can always reach us through email. My email is going to be my first and my last name at chandratheramus@kysu.edu. If you would like to find us on Facebook, we have a Kentucky State University land-grant Facebook page, and we also are located on the Hardin County Extension Facebook page. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If there is anything that you have any questions about or comments, please feel free to contact me through email, and I will get back to you and hopefully have a great answer for you. I hope that you enjoyed the presentation.